On today's episode of WatchJRGo, we are back, this time out in Eric's work truck, and we're going to pick up, well, a real work truck, not one of these bad boys. Traffic is moving. That's a crazy alert to have from your dash cam there.
Yeah.
What is going on, guys? I am WatchJRGo, and today, like I said, we are out in Eric's 2015 F-150 King Ranch. Good old KR, and this is the one that we're gonna have to pull the cab on shortly because it's leaking coolant. But that is not what we're tackling today. This morning, a truck popped up on Facebook, an absolute work truck, GMT 800.
GMC Sierra.
So this is a 2003 GMC Sierra. WT, from what I can tell. It looks like a WT trim truck. It might not even have power windows, which is crazy to say, but long bed, fully work truck spec. We're going to check this thing out, and as long as everything's good, I mean, other than the fact that he said the transmission slips, standard GMT 800 stuff, we're gonna pick this thing up. So 1,500 bucks, we got a 1,500 bucks for him right here, and this should be a fun one just because it's one of those trucks that you don't see that often, and it's also the truck the internet says they love more than anything on the planet. I don't really think that's true anymore because obviously these things are getting really long in the tooth, but we're gonna buy one if we can get it. All right, guys, work truck acquired, and we are driving it. The transmission does slip. There's no doubt about the transmission slipping, honestly. Come on, girl. I wonder if it's low on fluid. It's very upset because we're going 30 and it doesn't want to do anything more. But let's get this thing home. We're gonna check it out real quick. We're gonna keep our fingers crossed that I'll make it home. I think we might make it home going 35 mile an hour, but there's a chance we can get this on the highway. I'm gonna need both hands so we can, you know, do the pedal dance and try to get this thing into a gear where it'll keep going because it does not want to go. So far, the work truck is a great truck because we've made it to El Gordo, which is as much as I can ask for. I want some Mexican food. This place has insane breakfast burritos, insane quesadillas. Time to try something new. So I'm just gonna keep adding to the list till I eat the whole menu here, and so far it's been great. All that stuff in the bed is totally gonna fly out.
I'll tell him to grab it. $5 gets you the basic.
Man, they do not care.
Look, they got a DeWalt heater heating the place.
Gotta keep the car wash warm. All right, this thing better be spotless when we get out of here.
I think this is the worst car wash in Kansas.
You know, I thought it was $5 today only because they're gonna completely renovate this. They said they were tearing it out this year and redoing it.
Well, everything, they didn't take care of any of it.
No,
it all failed.
Yeah.
It's always the passenger that gets wet.
Okay, passenger airbag on.
Oh, there you go. Well, that works.
Don't take my bed, man! Ah!
It made it.
Wow, even the wood?
Yeah, even the wood.
All right.
As your new daily driver, how do you feel? Because this is it.
It's really not bad. It's funny, this was $1,500, which is roughly the price of one payment on my real truck.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is a working, if we put in a Toto in it and had CarPlay, you could daily it.
That's like an hour of work.
Yeah, I know. All right, guys, we got it washed, we got it cleaned up, and we got it back to the shop and inside. And now, let's talk about this work truck. Also, I made a mistake. I thought we were going to buy an 03 based on the headlights. I expected that it would be a cat eye if it wasn't an 03. This is an 06, and let's get right into it. There is a very vocal group of people out there that say when they buy a truck, they want a truck and nothing else. And to a point, I agree with that. When you could buy trucks like this back in the year 2006, you could run down to the dealership, pick up a spec just like this for probably $18,000. I think the MSRP on these was a little over 24, 25 for a base work truck with a V8 in it, which is the exact same truck you could have bought back in the 1950s. And at $18,000, that was an incredible deal. Now, to get a truck like this today, it would cost like $35,000-ish. I think that's about the cheapest truck you can buy Today, if you run down to the dealership, ask for a stripper model, obviously they're not gonna give you $1 off of the MSRP, and I think an XL Ford or a WT style GM product will cost you about $35,000. That is literally double. Let that sink in. It's only been about 20 years, and here we are with the cheapest truck you can buy today being double what it was in 2006. So let's jump into what a work truck really looks like, and you guys tell me in the comments below if you could actually deal with something like this. Now, I think that there is a very vocal minority in reality, maybe majority, it's probably a minority that says that they want trucks like this, but if people were actually buying trucks like this, manufacturers would make them. Now, that's not to say that it's all on the consumer. A lot of it is the fact that Ford now knows that they can build a truck like mine that costs them, I think it costs them about $35,000, $40,000 to build my diesel, and then there are unlimited buyers for those trucks at $100,000. And if you can make $60,000 profit instead of $4,000 profit, which one are you gonna take? Obviously, the manufacturers have shareholders that they're responsible to, and they are gonna chase that money. Now, there's a lot to be said for having an actually loaded truck that's as nice as like a Maybach Mercedes, and you can do anything with it no matter the task. Any road trip, any amount of people, smooth as butter. And then of course you could have the opposite side of that coin, which is loud, not really well insulated, zero options, and cheap. And while that is a route you could go, and I'm not saying that it's not a very valid route, the consumer, the manufacturer, and the shareholders, they pretty much all want you to go buy the expensive truck. Even the government, because obviously the truck thing, it's all tax advantaged, and that's the reason everyone's buying trucks that cost more than a house. But today we're here to talk about this work truck I just bought. Check it out and see what you guys think of a truck with zero options in the year 2023. So, this is what a door panel looks like with no options. There are no power locks, look at that. Normally it'd be that same locking mechanism with some power controls right there. Even on the most basic truck, you'd get the lock controls and power windows. This one has none of that. It instead has a door handle, crank windows, and absolutely manual locks. Not only that, if you look around, what else is missing on the door panel? That's right, mirror controls. No power folding mirrors, no power extending mirrors. These are manual mirrors. I just adjusted it. If you want to adjust it, you have to roll your window down. So you better hope it's not 0 degrees outside like it is pretty much everywhere in the US today. This truck has had some miles on it. According to the odometer, I think it's 200 and change, 243,000 miles, and the engine runs like it's brand new. I am not kidding when I say I think this is the best, most powerful feeling 5.3 I've ever driven in my life. It absolutely goes for having a transmission that we'll need to work on. Down here, we've got a lot of foam missing from people sliding in and out of the work truck seats. If you've had a work truck before or worked for a company that bought a fleet of these, you know this pattern very well. GM used it on all the work trucks because it holds up forever. This is the damage after almost 300,000 miles. If people would have just, not slid over the seat, there'd be no damage, because this stuff is incredibly resistant to damage, staining. I mean, this one's stained, and it's hard to even see it because the texture just hides anything that goes wrong. So a really innovative old seat material there. I don't know if I can even get it to fix those problems, but you could probably replace the whole seat, and I don't think these seats cost too much money. Now, one thing this truck has, its one ray of sunshine, is auto lights. I'll give it that. It has the same light control from even a loaded one. You have the dome light kill right there. You have the dimmer, and also if you go all the way up, of course it locks on the interior lights, and you have auto headlights. So that is really nice. If only it had auto high, you know what? It's a work truck. There's no auto high beams. Here we have the bed light, and what's crazy about this bed light is this is a manual switch. I'm pretty sure there's new federal regulations Now, if you turn on a bed light and the truck goes over 8 mile an hour, any exterior light that's not like a headlight or a tail light, they all turn off automatically at 8 mile an hour because they don't want you driving down the road with weird lights shining out of the bed or off the mirrors, because you know the new trucks have area lighting. You pull up to a job site, punch all the buttons on my truck, and you can see 40 foot around the truck. It literally lights up everything, and it's awesome. I can't tell you how much it saves us. You don't need to bust out any lights, just punch the button, hop out, and you're like, ah, daylight. The bed's completely flooded in light, but this bed light actually works really well too. It's just 2 halogen old school bulbs pointing down, halogen or incandescent, pointing right into the bed. So for what it is, it does work, and it's a manual switch that does not shut off. So you can drive down the road with it on, which, I mean, it's obviously illegal to drive down the road with it on anyway, but if you need it on, you can look in your bed while you're driving down the road. Really, really nice. We've got the manual tilt wheel, and there's absolutely no telescoping there. It has a working cruise control, which I've definitely tested out, and I was amazed. The wipers work 243,000 miles. I'm gonna tell you guys one more time, everything in here works. Now this is the base radio. I don't know if any of you have ever seen this before. I've had a few of these work trucks, so I'm kind of accustomed to it, but it's not a tape player. Most of these, even in '06, still had their cassette player. And obviously if you had even a little bit higher trim, you had the CD player at the top. Nope, this is FM and nothing else. That's all you get there. It's got a tow haul button for that 4L60E, the same gauges you'd get in any other truck. Obviously not a 3/4 ton because there's no trans temp in there, but other than that, it's a good setup. These gauges are classics and they work until the stepper motors fail. No steering wheel controls. Usually they'd be all over there, but nothing on this. And then dual zone climate, which is another ray of sunshine in this truck. I think you could option this without dual zone climate, but it was probably so cheap that they just did it. There might be one more version of this climate control that has a knob. But wait, there's even more luxury inside the '06 GMT 800. 12 volt accessory power, a lighter, an ashtray full of money, check that out. You get a little cubby hole down here that you could put business cards in. It's not a great cubby hole. I've had this in a bunch of work trucks too, and there's nothing you can really put in there except for tissues and business cards, because anything else falls out whenever you accelerate. So a little bit annoying there. What usually doesn't fall out is this is supposed to have a rubber mat in it, and when it's in there, nothing ever falls out. That's actually a great cubby hole. This gigantic glove box, a classic GM move right there. It's always perfect and will just hold every receipt you've ever had for your vehicle. We've also got 2 cup holders in the middle, and that's it. That's a complete walkthrough of the interior on a GMT 800 WT. You don't get carpet in your work truck either. You get this textured rubber. If you ever armor all that while you're trying to clean up the floor, it's kind of game over. You won't be able to drive the truck anymore because you can't find a footing, and then your foot's kind of just floating on the brake and the throttle. You have no control over the vehicle after that. Completely manual seats. And then one other thing I do want to talk about before we go under the hood of this thing. I don't think these wheels could have possibly came on a work truck. I don't think they're the right year. I think these are from an '08 or something like that. Let me know in the comments below. I don't think you could have ever spec'd it with these wheels. They are way too nice, even though they're a little rough on this thing. And it should have had Steelies. So you could have gone up from the Steelies, but I don't think it would have gone to these wheels. Kind of interesting, this bumper looks really nice for being a work truck spec. It doesn't have the fog lights, so they just leave the plastic in there. And let's get under the hood and show you guys the best thing about any GMT 800, the old 5.3 liter LS-based engine. Look how clean that is. I mean, we just rinsed it off. We didn't do anything else under here. Why does the engine bay look so nice in this thing? I think it's got a bit of a valve cover leak. I think there's some crud down there. But other than that, this thing is still rocking. And it doesn't look like it was particularly taken care of. I don't think anybody cared about it. I know the last owner was a plumbing company that just sent their techs out in it. So you know that all they did was change the oil and repair what had to be done. And that is how I ended up with it. The transmission started to fail and they posted it on Facebook and said, 1,500 bucks, come get it. 2-wheel drive, 4L60Es are the easiest job you could possibly do. It's literally just drop the exhaust, pull the drive shaft, and pull the bolts out of the flex plate and the bell housing. We've done it a few times on here, and we can do it. I mean, we can have it out in an hour, send it over, have it rebuilt, and have it back in an hour. And that is a great setup. And with just a little bit of work and $1,000 to have someone else rebuild the transmission, you could do it even cheaper. You've got yourself a running truck that'll do another at least 100,000 miles with no problems. The engine's not gonna let you down, and the transmission pretty reliably goes 100 to 150,000 miles. The only negative to this truck is that it's a long bed. If it was a regular cab short bed, it would be worth so much more money. People love RCSBs to make race trucks, nice little daily drivers. The regular cab long bed though, it's got some pros. You can put ladders in the back and not leave them hanging out of the bed. So it's kind of cool having the long bed. I mean, you can put like 2 pallets in it. It's honestly a really nice setup when you need it, but when you don't need it, it's not exactly fun to park, and they just look a little weird. The bumper on the back is completely worthless on this thing. There's no rust on the frame, anything like that. The bars, there's some crossbars on the frame. Those have rusted through on this, but the actual rails look like they're great. So we did get under it. After I saw this rust, I was like, we have to check. And the truck looks excellent, but the bumper and those little tiny pipe support bars that go between the frame rails, they look horrible. They have completely rotted out. It's still pretty solid. You're not gonna punch through that or anything, but it's a lot of rust. If you just go buy that cheap chrome bumper and put it back on the back, it would solve that problem. And you don't need those frame crossbars. I've seen plenty of trucks that never had them. So you could just rip those off, and you got a great little driver, and I'm sure it's been around Kansas most of its life, so we don't get a lot of frame rot or anything like that around here. This thing's just been, it's been used as a work truck, and it can be made to live again. So let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on these work trucks. Do you really want a truck with no options that is basically only good for hauling things around? You can't take your friends with you, you can't take your family with you. You can literally only have one other person, because nobody wants to sit in that middle seat. That middle seat's not even a fold down console in this like most of the work trucks are. And that's really nice, because the flip down console holds full sheets of paper in the work trucks, which is perfect for your invoices and everything else you're doing throughout the day. You fill those up until they're this big, and then you take everything in the office. So would you actually want a work truck like this, where basically nothing can go wrong except for the one thing that went wrong? Or do you want a truck with at least some options? Power windows, a remote start, just nice things that make your life so much easier. Anyway, this is my new cheap truck. Just 6 months ago, this would have cost double with a broken transmission. You would have been paying $3,000 all day. It seems like the deals might be returning. How are the deals looking where you're at? That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop WatchJRGo.com for cool shirts, not like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. The Vortec engine cover is missing. How unfortunate. And also GM white paint. You can see it failing inside the fenders. You can see it failing on the roof. This, the detailers tell me that the GM white is the thinnest, most garbage paint there really ever was. So that's why we got those 2 rust spots on the roof. Anyway, I've spent most of the day over here cleaning things up from the Corvette. We're gonna get all of that out of here shortly. That way we can start working on this. So Eric and I have been working away. We got the seats out of the Corvette, cleaned a little bit of this up. We got to clean up all of our parts here and then roll this out of the way, and then we still have to pull the fuel tanks, and then we're gonna drop this on the dollies and push it outside because we are done. I think every part is out of the C5. Let's take a look inside. I finally got the ECU out. That was an absolute chore. And getting the dash cover off made that pretty easy, but we unbolted it all, and that's what a Corvette looks like with no dash. The only thing I still have to do, the reason it's up here, is I gotta pull e-brake handle and I gotta get the steering wheel off. And unfortunately I pulled the battery a little too soon. I should have unlocked the steering, taken the bolts out for the airbag, and then taking it all apart, because it's really hard to get to the fasteners with the steering locked, and it won't unlock without the battery. It's an anti-theft thing. If you're a Corvette owner, you probably want that, but we did just spend a whole video talking about how much simpler trucks like this were. I don't think this has that. It just has a mechanical lock on the ignition directly into the wheel. The Corvette runs, it has the key conversation with the BCM. It's not a real conversation because it's just theft lock 2, pass lock 2. and then the BCM says that's the real key, and then it releases a solenoid that's electronic in the wheel, and that's what unlocks it. So if you don't have a BCM in it and you don't have a battery hooked up, which I could go hook it all back up, then you can't just turn the steering wheel. It's a whole thing. I went and got this $2,000 scale today for 50 bucks off Marketplace, and we're going to build a like sunken area of this workbench, so you can just take a box and roll it over right onto the scale, get the weight, and then the weight, I ordered all the serial stuff too. So we gotta go from DB25 on this bad boy, this old school expensive scale, to DB9, to USB, to this Dell Optiplex, what is it? Optiplex 3040 that is completely set up with all of our shipping software now. The Zebra ZT40 is on the way as well, the god of label printers. That thing can like thermal print a label every half second, 1 second. They basically just flow out of it. It never stops printing. And you can put like 500 labels in it and it just blows through an entire roll. You'll be able to roll your package across the bench onto the scale, stick it into ShipStation, hit print, and it'll throw out the shipping label and the packing list. You can just do it all in a couple of seconds. This is my quick and dirty, ultra professional shipping setup. We didn't spend any money. 100 bucks on that computer, 50 bucks for that scale, 50 more bucks in serial converters, and well, $600 for that label printer because it's like $1,200 new. I did see the comments about me having a workbench. I have 2 of these workbenches that were from my vinyl company. That's why they have these nice, cut. You can basically cut on these tables forever. They're self-healing. But yeah, they're 4x8s with MDF tops, so it was perfectly smooth with these super expensive self-healing mats on top because we ran, we must have made 1 million vehicle wraps, banners, decals, things like that when I owned the sign shop. And we were just, we needed 8x8 in tables, and that's what we had set up. So these are the 2x4 basics legs, which I'm a big fan of. It's a kit you can just get on Amazon. I might throw a link below. And then you just toss in your plywood and 2x4s. And if you make them 4x8, you don't have to make any cuts, which is really nice. You only have to cut the 2x4s, which is the easiest thing ever. So you can put these things together really quick, and they should hold like 2,000 pounds or something like that. So I've had these forever, and we had to completely disassemble them and get them out of my basement.